Sarah.
And this is Bickering Book Reviews. And today, just in time for Labor Day, we are doing a special book list of our top 5 books. And for Labor Day, in honor of it, we picked books that feature teen pregnancies.
Because we're punny like that.
Sarah came up with this and she's very proud of it.
I am pretty proud of myself.
So we're just
Labor Day.
Labor Day. Anyway, so we're just going to start.
Okay.
My number 5 is a book called Where the Stars Still Shine by Trish Dollar, which is an author that I really like. It's another one that I don't think a lot of people read. I didn't read. And this is about a girl named Callie, who is the result of a teen pregnancy. See what I did there? See? And her mother and her father had gotten married very briefly when they were like 18 years old, and then they had broken up, and her mom was kind of a mess, and so her dad was going to have custody of her, so her mom grabbed her and ran. And this book takes place when she's 17, and her mother has gotten arrested, and the police are taking her back to her father, who has a new life and has a family and kids. And his whole, like, he has this huge, great family, and they all want her there, but Callie doesn't really feel like she fits in, and it's about how she tries to fit back in with his life. Really good book. I sat and read it in, like, one sitting.
I vaguely remember this, and I really liked it, too.
Yeah, it was a good book.
Yeah. All right, so my number 5 is Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. So this is historical fiction. It talks about the Wilhelm Gustloff sinking. Becky doesn't really agree with that because it doesn't show up until the end of the book. But anyway,
it's like the last 100 pages of a 450-page book. But don't worry, we put it on the cover.
Anyway, so the Wilhelm Gustloff is part of the Axis power, and so it's a story of 4 different teens, though it really feels like new adult, how they're kind of escaping the communists, so the people who were on the Allied power during World War II. Talks about how they're escaping to the Wilhelm Gustloff and how, like, that's their saving grace to kind of get away from being harmed in the war, in the crossfire of the war. One of the main characters, trying not to give away too much, is pregnant. I'm not going to say which one, but there is a pregnancy portion of it. So I really liked it. A lot of people didn't. I liked how it was a different kind of take on your stereotypical World War II book.
All I will say is I was disappointed compared to Between Shades of Grey, which I thought was beautiful and groundbreaking. And I was disappointed because I did not feel that it was what the publisher presented it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think it took the most exciting portion of the book and led with it.
Yeah, that was my problem. So my number 4 is a book that I actually read when I was a teen, so I put it on the book. It's Someone Like You by Sarah Dessen, which was part of the basis of the movie How to Deal, starring Mandy Moore. And this is a book about Haley. And Haley's best friend is Scarlett. Scarlett met this boy, fell in love, got pregnant, boy died. I can tell you this because it happens like in the first 20 pages of the book. And it's about, part of it, the story is about Scarlett's pregnancy and Hallie helping her deal with that.
And that is also my number 4 because what's a pregnancy list without a Sarah Dessen book? Is
Obviously.
What I've got to say.
It's not what I could think of. What else did she have with a pregnancy?
I mean, but she, like, covers all of those standard teen angsty, like, you know, you've got your eating disorders, you've got your self-harm, you've got your, like, just stressful, your death in the family.
Father issues, This Lullaby, my favorite.
It's all there.
And she obviously does it right because she's been writing teen books since I was a teen. So.
I know, and they're all, like, well, I don't know if you'd agree, but, like, they're all pretty much phenomenal.
The majority. That's a whole other story. My number 3 is Slam by Nick Hornby. I will say part of the reason that I enjoy this book is because it's British, and the audiobook is read by Nicholas Hoult when he was on Skins, and he does an awesome job. Like, it's perfect. But it's about Sam, who falls in love with this girl named Alicia. He kind of falls in lust with her. And through a series of events, and it's kind of his own fault, she gets pregnant, and it's about the pregnancy and the baby. And it was just a kind of interesting boy perspective of it. And like I said, great audiobook, hilarious.
So my number 3, that's where we're at. My number 3 is Gabby, A Girl in Pieces by Isabel Quintero. I'm hoping I'm saying it right. But anyway, I love that book. So it's about Gabby and her senior year. However, it also talks about her 2 best friends, one who recently came out to his parents and basically wasn't accepted, and all of the issues surrounding that. And then one of her other friends is pregnant, and so she's kind of the friend is dealing with the stigma attached to being a teen mother, and then Gabby just feels totally left behind because she doesn't have those issues, and obviously her friend is far more sexually advanced than she is, and so it's all just about growing pains, and it's kind of awesome. And yeah.
See, unless somebody pointed out what the cover was to me, I can't not see it. So.
Oh my gosh, so the cover is gross, but you can move along. It's a really good book. They really need to redo that cover.
And
the cover was terrible.
I never noticed it until I read it somewhere, and I was like, oh.
And it was terrible. But the thing is, it was terrible before somebody pointed that out. It looks like slabs of meat on the front of the cover. But essentially it is.
So my number 2 is How to Love by Katie Contenugo, I want to say, which is horrible because I actually listened to one of her books, so I should know how they said her last name. And this book is about a girl named Rena who her whole life had been in love with her parents' best friend's son named Sawyer. Sawyer gets involved with her best friend. The best friend, there's an issue and they break up. Sawyer and the best friend get separated, let's say that. And Rena and Sawyer get involved. Rena gets pregnant, Sawyer disappears, and so the book kind of flashes between him coming back a few years later, and she has this baby, and he's like, well, I kind of want to be part of the baby's life, and about what's going to happen with them, because she's moved on, but she's still kind of in love with him. And then they flash back to her and Sawyer's relationship developing. And it was really good. And I think it was her first book.
Okay. So my number 2 is Monument 14, which is the end of the world book. I love end of the world books. But anyway, so this one is basically about this natural disaster kind of attacks the world, and the school bus of high school and younger children kind of gets caught in this terrible hailstorm that busts up the road and everything. And anyway, they crash land into a Walmart, but I think it's called a Safeway, so it's this huge superstore. So they crash. The way they describe it, though, it sounds a lot like a Meijer, a Meijer or a Walmart.
Like a grocery store, yeah.
Anyway, so they crash land in this superstore, and their bus driver is crazy awesome, and so she goes out to help other people. So it's just this group of high school and younger kids hanging out together, learning how to just survive. And as it turns out, one of them is pregnant. So it's so many tough issues too. I didn't even say who the author is. I'm sorry. It's Emmy Laybourne. These books are awesome. They start off as kind of okay for younger teens, but as the series goes on, even as the book goes on, it definitely becomes more suited for the older teens. It deals with some serious issues. It's really good.
So let's do a quick recap. My number 5 is Where the Stars Still Shine by Trish Dollar. Number 4, Someone Like You by Sarah Dustin. Number 3, Slam by Nick Hornby. And number 2, How to Love by Katie Contenugo, we're going to say.
I'm going to try to see if I can remember these in order, because I like all of these books equally, and they all hold separate places in my heart. So my number 5 was Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. My number 4 was How to Deal by Sarah Dussin. My number 3 was Gabby, a Girl in Pieces by Isabel Quintero. And my number 2 was Monument 14 by Emmy Laybourne.
And so my number 1 book is also kind of dealing with the after effects of teen pregnancy. It's called Boy Most Likely To by Huntley Fitzpatrick. If you haven't read anything by Huntley Fitzpatrick, if you want classic teen angst awesomeness, she is a master. This is actually the companion novel to her first book, My Life Next Door, which literally I sat and read in one sitting. It rocked my world. And this is about Tim, who used to be a total partier, and he's kind of getting his life together. And just as he's trying to get his life together, this girl shows up and says, hey, guess what? Remember that party we were at a few months ago? Here's the baby that's the result of it. And so Tim's trying to adapt and deal with the baby, but he'd been in love with his best friend's older sister Alice, and she's kindly started showing him some kind of attention. So he's trying to have a relationship. He's trying to deal with the baby. Should he raise the baby? What should happen with the baby? Great book. Read either. Read both of them. Huntley Fitzpatrick. Good times.
So in my number 1 is Me, Him, Them, It by Kayla Carter. This is your stereotypical teen pregnancy novel. Everything that you assume would be in a teen pregnancy novel is in this book. Basically, it is about Evelyn, who is your standard great student valedictorian, does everything great, falls in love with a boy who is really only using her for sex. Turns out she's pregnant. He wants nothing to do with her. Her parents don't give a crap about her because that's just kind of how it works. And the only person who really kind of takes the time with her is her aunt, who she goes to live with. Evelyn kind of pretends that it's not happening, that none of it's happening, and the aunt kind of keeps trying to bring her back to, this is happening, you're gonna have a baby, like, no matter what, you need to kind of get on board and figure things out. Like, you can't just stick your head in the sand. And it's really good, and it's kind of just like working through all of those issues, and it certainly brings up the different options associated with, you know, having a baby and, you know, all of that. So it's great.
And so that is our Labor Day pregnant teen list.
Woohoo!
Have a great day.
Have fun reading about babies.